All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And you are watching Matthew's Coffee Bar. This is that space, that place where we chill out with buddies, with our friends, and where we get to talk about stuff and things that are absolutely relevant to the situation and the condition that we're in right now. And of course, anything else that comes to our mind. We are friends. We go for coffee. And so that's what we do here. And I am so excited. I can see some of you that already queued up and lined up and waiting, like Letitia Sauke. I appreciate you. Jay Mokaris Jr., Christopher Alu, Kenneth Dwar, of course. Ken is with us, so I'm sure it's a watch party. Bishop Ayanda, and then, of course, so you that are already logging in. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this wonderful conversation. These are men that say it as it is. They cut as deep as they can. They hold a two-edged sword, and they say it as it is. And tonight, once again on the panel, I have yours truly from the Purpose Center, the youth minister, what do you call the young adults minister, yours truly, my friend, I don't know, for over 30 years. Yours truly, David Wags in the house. David, is absolutely wonderful to have you. Always a joy.
Thank you.
And then, of course, we have one Richard Kedenge Chogo. His man is becoming famous for being controversial, but his controversy is saved. And so we want to have you, we want to celebrate you, Richard. Then, of course, the one man that he's called the man of gadgets. And probably he's having a couple of them before him, right? One fails, he picks the other one. Yours truly, Reverend Kenneth Dwaro Dipo. I told you that he's got his gadgets ready. Absolutely wonderful to have him here. Yeah, and then, of course, all the way from the Queensland, I have two buddies of mine. Yours truly, another man that I've known, I don't know how many years, it's over 30 years. The one and only Tiggs from Oxford in the house. And of course, Joseph Odima. We call him Jacom.
Thank you, sir.
This man will prophesy brimstone and fire without fearing or being favorable to anyone. And then, of course, tonight, my relative and friend from the Innkeepers Ministry, yours truly, Julius Ndimo, man full of wisdom, Karibu Sana. It's great to have you on board. And for the second time, I was looking for him. He refused to receive my call. I guess he was logging into this conversation. The man from Purpose Center, we call him the Rabbi, Michael Musembi, Karibu Sana. Great to have you on board, man. I enjoyed your conversation last Wednesday. Karibuni Sana, everyone on watching us. We are live on Deliverance Church, done on Facebook. We are live on Deliverance Church YouTube channel. We are live on Twitter. And of course, each one of you that is watching us, you're welcome to start a watch party. Let's have a ball. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm sure you're going to be blessed to be here today as you chill out together with us. Karibuni sana wanaume. My sister Becky has been a little bit indisposed, but I'm sure when time I've already sent our link. If she's strong enough to be able to join us, if she doesn't, we'll understand. Okay, guys. Karibuni sana. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
And especially for those of you from Kenya, Jacom, you mentioned 58, man. What were you trying to intimate?
Well, you guys know, man. You should be telling me, my host. You should be telling me better. I was shocked and gobsmacked when I read, when I saw, of course, your president, my president, our president.
Yeah. Yes.
That they came up, that the so-called the interfaith came up with some regulations that the laws and the do's and the don'ts when the place of worship begins to open up, that the under 13s are not allowed in church. I do understand that bit, but the bit that beat me
over 48.
Yes, 58. The bit that really beat me off was the above 58. That
sounds like it disqualifies you.
Yeah, that will kind of, well, 1 more year, Jacob, 1 more year. That means that 1 more year I'm not supposed to be in church. If all this COVID continues.
You will not be allowed in church.
I'm not allowed
yes.
to, even near the precepts of the so-called church. And that really, I can't fathom that. I can't really get that in my head. I could understand, jokes aside, I could understand if they would say people with underlying issues should not come because they can contact the virus. That I would understand. But if they put a blanket, that means that even President Donald Trump should not be in the White House.
Yeah.
Because he's above. That means, I don't know, I just kind of mention it because he's my uncle. That means that some of these people, in places, that means that some of even our bishops, our pastors, the so-called fathers.
Actually, all of our bishops will be disqualified.
They should be disqualified. That I can't fathom, to be honest with you, man of God. The Bible says that it's Caleb who asked God to give him a mountain when he was 70 years of age.
Yes.
So when I don't know where the so-called interfaith was coming from, and why they came up with that blanket law that the 58 plus should not come to church. That bit cannot get in my head.
All right. Well, I've got some Kenyan pastors here. I'm sure they'll be able to explain. Yes, Ken.
I'm telling Jacob not to be worried. This is a wake-up call. You need to be mentoring people. It doesn't mean that, you are 60 years of age and the next person online is 59 years of age. The church will be shut down. Nobody will worship. You need to mentor people who are half your age. And we cannot bring in the issue of people like Joshua of 70 years. Those are guys who used to live 900, 200 years. This is a new dispensation. Our fathers have a wake-up call. Bring in people half your age to be able to run with this work. Otherwise, our churches will go down because a majority of our churches are built around personalities. If you go, the church goes down. We need to begin to mentor and hand over the baton. This is the time to hand over the baton, by the way. This COVID thing is teaching us to hand over batons. Thank you.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Mike, what are you hearing right there?
Hiyo sasa ni fireworks zinatupwa sasa.
Let me plead the fifth. Where? Here, you can come out alive or dead. Hey, where?
Wacha nimalize tu uji yangu. Wacha nimalize uji yangu.
I don't know. I want to give my other brothers time to speak. So that's why I'm keeping quiet. But to be honest with you, Pastor Ken, I agree with you 1,000%. I agree. But the thing is, let's see, there's something dangerous somewhere coming through. By what is being said, to be honest with you. Because apart from now, our fathers, our daddies, and of course, people are elderly. And what about our fathers, worshippers, who ought to be in God's house? Are you together with me? You're saying that you're shutting them off because of the COVID. Don't we see that there's a trick also? I'm not saying about who brought the announcement the other day. No. I'm just saying it now generally. When you look at it, remember what Moses said, and he told Pharaoh when God spoke to him, your children, your fathers and our mothers, he was telling Pharaoh, nobody is remaining in Egypt. We shall all go out to go and worship the Lord. Don't you see that something is coming also to shut some of our people out? I do understand about the situation and the season we are in. But it could have been said this way, men of God, and we are here to chat, that people with underlying issues, or you don't have an underlying issue, you don't feel as if you want to come, please use your own discretion. But putting up a blanket law, not wanted, that is dangerous ground. I don't know how the others feel.
Okay, well, I don't know, but you and Gitao are actually in Europe, and that's where most of the churches, the people who attend the churches are that age bracket, if I'm not wrong, or older.
Our Prime Minister came with a law.
So if that was to be applied there, you'd be in trouble.
Yeah, no. Our Prime Minister, of course, Pastor Gitao will bear me witness, when they said that, and if I'm wrong, Pastor Gitao, please help me, but they said that our churches should be open, but we have been given 30 people in church. Am I wrong, Pastor Getao?
Yes, there is no limit on the number. The limit will depend on the building size that you have.
Oh, so the 30, okay, the 30 ones they're talking about was the wedding.
Wedding and funerals only.
Okay, correct. Now, that's correct. Now, but they did not put the limit of the age. In fact, the place where age could have applied, who could have been here. These are guys of laws. We have the infrastructure, name it, medically. Like right now, I was watching the Chancellor of the Exchequer are coming up with the billions and billions that they're bailing some of us out with. Now, when you look at that, then you look at Africa with that kind of a thing. That's where God is worshipped. That's where deliverance is coming from. Don't you see that something is shutting the people off there in Kenya, in Africa? Let me put it as a whole. You know, I'm telling you, even in America, where people that are dying now, Donald Trump did not come with those kind of laws.
Yeah, I hear you. Let me have some Kenyan pastors here. Let me hear from Julius Ndivo. He is the senior pastor of Innkeepers. Julius, what do you think, man? I mean, 13 years and below, don't come to church. 58 years and above, don't come to church. No Sunday school. I mean, stuff. 1 hour meeting, only 100, that's it. How does that resonate with you, Pastor Ndivo? Your mic is muted.
Sorry. Thank you very much, Rev, for having me here. It's a pleasure once again to be on this coffee bar with this serious and special men of God in this nation of ours.
Yeah, serious, I can assure you.
Yeah. And yes, it's a pleasure and excited to just hang out and share and fellowship.
Yeah.
Now, so I think looking at our situation as a country, I think I don't envy the team of the interfaith and also the government officials that have had to look into this. I think, truth be told, there are very many factors here that need to be considered. First, we have, cases beginning to escalate. When you look at our situation, our ability to manage the cases, our health system is already beginning to get overwhelmed even before, any serious stories of infections start to get told in this country. If you look at the data, we have some of the counties that have just one ICU bed, one ICU bed. And so I think looking at all of that, there's a situation that is being considered where if you have one person who is infected, and given the way the trends have been, who is in church, and you have 100 people, the risk of, the virus, other people catching the infection, I think all of those were things they needed to consider. And church, we've been pushing, we want to come back, things need to happen. And we are grateful that at least that door has been open. Now, coming to the details here, I think for the children, it is understandable, as we start this journey, it makes a lot of sense to not have children exposed, at this stage before we even figure out how this thing is going to, pan out. So that makes sense. The idea of the numbers, again, I think it's neither here nor there. In my opinion, the issue of capacity, if you have space where you can keep the 1.5 meters and maybe have slightly more than 100, I would have thought maybe that would have been a consideration. But again, this being something that's starting, I don't find it too punitive that they're saying, hey guys, let's start slow. Let's see how the 100 does, what happens, and then we can review this thing, which I hope they will. Now, I think I'm kind of in agreement about the 58-year-olds. That's a bit too tight. I think it would have been maybe a little fair to say, look, if you're this age and above, you are high risk because of 1, 2, 3, 4 factors. And so our advice is consider staying at home, consuming your thing digitally or online. But if you think you want to take the risk, you feel healthy and strong, you are welcome to come. Because what happens, I have a friend of mine, who there are two pastors, you know, they've been cut off. So who is going to preach the members when they come, you know? And so I'd have felt they've been encouraged for that group to, if possible, to, you know, stay home. But if you feel you are the Caleb that is being talked about here, and you have a strength, you have a whatever, then, you know, you come, you can come. So I find that a little tight, just locking it at 58. But I think all factors considered, I think to me, fairly, you know, considerate, especially as we start this journey, given our situation, our capacity, the growing numbers, and so on and so forth.
All right. David, what do you think?
I'm not 58 yet, so.
So you will go to church.
Okay, I think there's a number of very what can I say, very simplistic decisions that are being made. You know, it's like guys are discussing nursery rhymes and then coming up with conclusions from the nursery rhymes. And basically what Joseph is saying, you can't just put a number. There are factors that are to be considered. Two, it is not a matter of life and death for everybody who is above that age because of just the underlying factors and the health conditions and all that. Thirdly, I think, like Joseph was saying, there are other agendas that are in place. This is the 1 year where, one, our children are not in school.
Yeah.
Two, they are not in church. Three, the elders are not allowed to interact with the younger because of the risk. And you know, if we could put all our young people in a freezer for the next 1 year, so that they just, you know, there's a movie where they froze people for a year or for 2 years. If you're in prison, there is no need of feeding you. They just put you in a freezer, and then you stay for that 1 or 2 years of prison sentence, and then they just throw you and you go home, right? If we could put our kids in that, you know, incubator to stay for 1 year, then it makes sense to keep them away from school, to keep them away from church, and to keep them away from community. What is happening? These guys have to live. Where are they living? Online. Who is controlling the online space? Nobody. There is no government, there is no policy, there is no measures. And so literally, we've left our young people to be fed, to be socialized on a platform that is more dangerous than the back streets of River Road or Bronx in New York, or, you know, it's terrible where they've been left. Then we're told, leave them at home and go to church. To do what? And so I feel there's an onslaught on this generation. Now, notice that 2020 was predicted by a lot of the you know, scientists and futurists. They were saying 2020 is the year where the youth bulge in Africa will be at its highest. We have 70% of this population in Africa being young, which means we have the highest number of people who are idle at this time when this COVID-19 attack is going on. What does that mean for us? What does that mean for these kids? And so, and Katindi Stephen Jonjo wrote a book in 2011, the Youth Fact Book, and the underlying statement is, what they put there as a title is Infinite, the Youth Bulge, Infinite Possibilities or Definite Disaster. Infinite possibilities or definite disaster. If we harness the youth strength, if we harness the brain power of these young people, if we harness the creativity, then it's infinite possibilities. It's actually Africa being poised to be the next helm of the world, the center of the world in the next 20 years. If we don't harness that, it's definite disaster. Looking at the circumstance we are finding ourselves, I'm not a speculationist, but I feel like there's somebody who has read the maths and just decided these young guys cannot have education, cannot continue to grow in community, cannot continue to grow in their faith. Like you've mentioned, Pentecostalism, the outpouring of God's Spirit in Africa cannot happen on these young people, because if those factors are present to these young people and education is given to them, with the peace that is being achieved in almost every country around us, then it's going to be infinite possibilities. People will be looking at Africa, waiting for visas to come to Africa, queuing in the Kenyan embassies, queuing in the Ugandan embassies to come to Africa because it's the center of the world. And so people have looked at this and said, if we allow these guys to go through, then we are looking at ourselves playing chess on Africa. And this is not just about, and I say this because I've looked at the factors around it. Africa, by God's grace, and we've said this for the last how many weeks have we been meeting? Every time we've talked about this, we've said, God has relented over Africa with COVID-19.
That's true.
They said March. They said April. They said May. Now it is September. Even if you are dating a girl and she tells you, I'll give you an answer in March. Then she says, I'll give you in April. By September, you're like, niambie tu kama unakama ama ukam. Nimetuma fare mara mingi. I'm done.
Richard Chogo.
Sema ukweli, just tell me, are you coming or are you not coming?
Yeah. Hivyo rahisi. Sio kushinda ukiniambia next week bwana. Unahamisha goalpost bila saa bwana. Ukugeresha geresha.
You can't threaten me indefinitely. Every time nakuja. Yeah. Nimeshtuka last month, nimeshtuka this month, nashtuka tena next month.
David, are you sensing some form of conspiracy against the young people? And I know your passion is young people and men who are born for that. And I know that, of course, anything that touches that, then antennas are gonna be way, way up and just try to listen in and know exactly what is going on. It doesn't make sense. I agree with you. I mean, I thought the younger people have a stronger
immunity
against, better than the others, even better than the so-called 20-year-olds and 30 years and stuff.
Yeah.
But right now, they shouldn't come to church, and I actually like what you've raised in. What are we telling them? Leave them at home. They're not in school. And actually now, rumor has it that this entire year is lost. They're going to next year. Just September, next year. So what are we going to do with this generation? Alafu sasa wakibaki nyumbani, wanazaana kama panya.
And that is the thing. And then now we are providing abortion for them. Exactly. We are pushing with them abortion. What happens when a girl has already killed her own child at the age of 13? Yeah. When you get into a fight with her, siyo ni majimoto. Without mercy, I've already killed my own flesh and blood. What will keep me from stabbing you to death if you disturb me one of these days?
Oh man!
And then the boys have been told it's not your responsibility. That is what we are telling them. We are buying them condoms. When you are going to commit a crime, you need to be able to fund your crime. We cannot fund your crime. You're going to sleep with whose daughter on government spending, government budget. But how much money is being spent on providing contraception to the young person while there is no money being put in to provide sanitary wear for the girls? And girls are giving their bodies away because they cannot afford sanitary wear. So they are using their bodies to get sanitary wear, but we are giving guys condoms to come and consider. These are big problems.
And
I hear you.
David, the painful thing, I know Chogo, what's coming. The most painful thing about this is that, sorry for saying this on air, but the main painful thing, you don't hear the voice of the church on what you're discussing now. That is the most painful thing, because all of us, we want to be on the good side. Most of us, not all of us. I want to be on the good side of the government, not to look to be critical, not to look to be radical, yet the enemy is taking our children and now is shutting us off. Just like you said it, I was just watching right now, America has come up with a system, Naomesema, that the schools must open and they have to come up with a system to make sure that even if they're at home or they're coming to school, something has to be done. Same thing get out with our country. They're doing that. Our children are back in school. They are back in school and they're keeping this distance. They're making sure that things are in place. Why can't it be done in Kenya? With all the money that is coming in. Sure.
You saw the picture of the guy that the money is going to. Huh?
Yeah.
The Indian community that is receiving the money in Kenya. There's a meme that is going around.
Love to see that meme. Rich the philosopher. What do you feel? What do you think, Richard? I mean, this is huge. This is big.
I'll try to be. I'll try to look for. Try to be a voice of reason. I don't think I will be. I don't think I will be. Not possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you were about to graduate in Bible school, we were praying that it does not rain on our graduation day. It was a Saturday. We were praying because the graduation is in the open space. So we were really, and it was short trains. That season for short trains. So we really prayed and fasted that it doesn't rain. But then a certain man. At that point, at that moment, we felt he was being inspired of the devil, called Bill Cat. He came to one of our prayer sessions and said, yes, I know you've prayed that it doesn't rain, but God is sovereign. God is sovereign.
I remember that time, Richie.
That, God is sovereign, such that, you can pray, and then when you go, it starts raining, because he has chosen to answer the prayers of some farmer in Kiambu, because, Nairobi is bordering Kiambu. And so it ends up looking like God has not heard our prayer. But I am interested in the word God is sovereign. When my good friend, Donald Trump, became the president of the United States of America, there was chaos. I mean, people were shattered. People knew that is the end of America, end of the world. I mean, then one pastor called Andy Stanley preached. And he said, if you are caught up in being, in having despair because Trump has become the president, or you are too excited because Trump has become the president, you are on the wrong end of the pendulum. You should recognize that God is sovereign. Whether there is a president who will push the agenda of the Christians or not, God is sovereign. So I must suggest to us, we are messed up in Africa, totally messed up. I did not waste my energy voting for this current government, and I will not vote for anyone associated with the current executive, the president, the deputy, now the opposition, has joined in there, and I'm really feeling
they're in bed together.
Something is not right there. I want a new person. I want somebody different. We should go on an onslaught to change our governance in this country. Something radical has to happen, because what is happening to us right now is because we've put in power people that are not competent to lead us. So they end up coming up with laws that are not helpful. However, having said that, God is sovereign. They have said 58 should not go to church, 58 and above, they have their own reasons, but God is still sovereign. They have said our children should not go to school. God is still sovereign. This is where you now have to look at the book of Revelation and the 7 churches, and at the end of the admonition to each of those churches, God says, Jesus says, let him listen what the Spirit is saying to the churches. See, right now, everyone to his corner to really listen to God, to hear what the Spirit is saying to the churches. Because and I understand the sentiments on age and all that, but I also recognize that they will say we have to follow science, because science, the facts have shown that people of a certain age are more predisposed to get infected, and their mortality rate is very high. And so in the guise of that, they have said, 58 and above should not come to church. So we need to find a way of working with that. We need to find a way of working with that. God is sovereign. The church in China is growing. I mean, their restriction is not about 58. Their restriction is even more stringent than 58. I mean, churches are being burnt down, destroyed. People are arrested, taken to. But I posted a video about somebody who interacted with those leaders from China. They're not complaining. They are just listening to the Spirit and doing what the Spirit is saying. Nonetheless, we can still fight back. If you have the space to fight back. They don't have a space to fight back. We can fight back. But if we are not successful, let's trust God for His sovereignty. That with all these stringent things, God can still work. God can still move. So I don't know. I'm nowhere near a voice of reason, but let me stop there, because I think the porridge I'm drinking today is not helping me to make sense.
Let me appeal. Yes, David.
I'm saying he's gobsmacked.
Yes. I want to appeal to Gitao, this man who is an outsider looking in. I mean, of course, being a Kenyan in all manners, in all sense. Gitao, what's your take, man? I mean, seriously speaking, we are not only talking about age here. We are talking about numbers. It's 100. And I think it's too, I don't know, Julius who said earlier on, I mean, it should have been, what is the capacity that you're able to hold in your church? Because I look, for example, like a church of Umoja where, the church of Umoja where Richard and Ken minister. You guys can handle a good 500, spacing everything. You can handle it comfortably. Who came up with the number of 100, seriously speaking? But we'll get out. I don't know what your take is in this discussion, but I think already right now we are pastors who are making noise and wondering who informed this. And then you're telling us to do 1 hour service. Now, for Pentecost, 1 hour ni ibada peke yake.
Warm
it up. Hata tujakota sadaka.
Give bado,
Well, I think it's difficult to comment on the issues back home, because I know even though we have also been given freedom here, but also in line with what Richard is saying, some of us are struggling in terms of how to open, because the opening up of services works for churches that have got their own buildings. So churches that are leasing, hiring, renting buildings, you are dependent on your landlords or the building owners. And I remember having a conversation with one pastor who is a friend of mine on Sunday evening, and he was saying, now where do I go? I've run the hall, the people who manage the hall that I have from, and because it's part of the school, and one of the things they were telling him is hiring halls is not our priority at the moment. So even though churches have been opened, some of us who are hiring have got to think about where do we go if the landlord is not keen to hire out. But coming to your issue in Kenya, I think I was taken interesting with what David was saying about social media, because now more than ever before we have all been pushed into social media. And the challenge I have to throw at us is, when you look at the traditional media that has been in existence for years, you can't say anything. There's a higher degree of regulation in the traditional media. You don't have that degree of regulation in social media. That, for me, is the worry. I know we have been using and we look at social media as a tool that will help us in this season. But one of the things that, and that David was alluding to, that these young children, their social media, they're adept at it. This is their world. But we must remember that this world is unregulated. It is not like the traditional media, your normal television, your normal radio, your normal newspaper. If you put up an article, if you bring up a commentary on radio or TV that is not accurate, you will be called to account. That is not the same thing in social media. And so that's one of the things that struck me when David was talking about the social media aspect. I think you people have to find a way of interrogating that committee that has come up with these results, and to try and interrogate what is the rationale behind 100 people. So do you mean when you have 100 people, the infection, it's not possible to have infections? You know, there has to be a rationale. Why 100? And this is some of the things that people pull out as numbers. And it's not just in Kenya, but everywhere, where people pull up numbers, but there's no rationale behind it. What are you talking about 100? Why are you talking about 58? Why not 59? Why not 60? Sometimes these numbers need to be critiqued, and whether you will have the opportunity to interrogate the people who've come up with this report is another matter.
I hear you.
Let me just jump in a little bit, Matt. I think
Go ahead.
If I would try, I cannot even be the devil's advocate. If I would try.
Don't try.
Let me just suggest the numbers and the rationale. I think there's some science out there, and at the onset of this COVID thing, some of us were trying to say, "Hey, we need to ask questions," but then we were quickly lumped up into the corner of conspiracy theorists, saying that let's question the science, let's question the numbers, let's even question this whole COVID thing. Is it a setup? Is it the New World Order that is trying to sneak in control, and all that? And so you are quickly dismissed, and we became polite on social media, because all these people who think they have really read came hard on us, But
you grew cold feet, Richard.
But they are suggesting that in confined spaces, the science is that this when you sneeze or you talk, this thing remains in the air for a while. In open spaces, it can easily be dispersed. That's why there was controversy when again my friend Trump wanted to have a rally indoors. And he was arguing that protests were happening and nobody complained. Can't I have my rally? They were saying protests were outside. In fact, they even came up with statistics to suggest that there was no spike when the Black Lives Matter protests were happening. There was no spike. So I actually even suggested that because of that data, then we can be allowed to have open air services, and that would really help us. So confined spaces. And another thing I would want to suggest, earlier on when we began talking about this thing, and when the church was told not to meet earlier on, we said that the problem is that most of our churches, they don't have self-regulating mechanism. If you're allowed to meet, there's a certain indiscipline among the clergy, a certain, recklessness of doing things that the government cannot just let them go ahead and do it the way they want to. So the government, and I suggested somewhere, the government could have just put a test, say, let's see how you can handle 100. Let's see how you can handle this. If you can handle this, because if they opened up this thing, say you can now begin to meet, just maintain social distance, I can guarantee you some church in some corner of this country would be found having packed up people like sardines. I can guarantee you. There is a man of God somewhere who would have done that. I'm telling you, the pastors, especially the Pentecostal pastors, we don't have discipline. I mean, it's difficult to control us. We are kings in our little kingdoms. And some of us is about the money. It's about all that. Some of us, not all of us. And so I feel the government has a very tricky situation here. It can say maintain social distance, but people are very tricky. Even in the past, we have not been able to regulate ourselves. How will we do so in this time? So probably the government has put up a test, 3 weeks. Let's see how this happens. Let's see. In fact, if you read that task force report, it said that these stringent conditions are subject to two things. Their review is subject to two things. Number one, the behavior of the churches, the way they will handle this, the way they will behave. And number two, the spike, the numbers, the rate at which people are getting healed, are getting better. If that number is going up, the mortality rate is going down, then they will review that. But then what caught my attention is the behavior of the religious bodies in handling this. In fact, I encourage them to form self-regulating, groups to regulate. And so I think this is a test, people. And if we are not careful at how we handle it, we may get into a more difficult situation down the road. And so I hope we'll be able to pass this test.
Pasi, Chogo, sorry, let me just jump in here. How do we determine that it's the church causing the spike? Day before yesterday, I went to a bar. I confess. I went to a bar.
I saw what you posted, David.
You saw what I posted. I went to a bar and I took a video at 5 p.m. Mark you, this is on Monday, 5 p.m.
Yes.
It was already teeming with people. It's right next to my place. By the time that place gets to 7 p.m., there's traffic jam on the road. When you go to Sitam Valley Road in the middle of a service exchange between the first and second service, do you see how cars are parked on the highway until the traffic on the main road is affected? That is how the road to my place is every evening. So how do you blame the church if the numbers spike and yet the bars are open? They don't have the 1 hour limit. They don't have a 100 limit. Apparently the president knows that people go for takeaways. They take away their beer in their stomach. That is what they did say. They didn't say that they yes, they take away, but it's in the stomach.
David, just on that, David.
Yes.
David, watch this. Now, this week, Gitao, last week, Saturday, when our Prime Minister opened up the system. On Saturday, the beehive of bars in the United Kingdom, my brothers, the city of London came to a standstill. Yet, a standstill, and the police was controlling the traffic, and they were saying, let the people enjoy. There was no self-distancing. I'm telling you, they were drinking their heads off. Then you want to tell us, and when you look at it, I know that the thing is, and out there, I know sometimes we are restrained in speaking out, you know what I mean, because of so many things. But I can tell you that the devil is in the details. When you watch what is happening, the enemy want to shut us out in one means or the other until we see this thing in the spirit in another level. We're not in Kenya. I'm not in Kenya, but I know that, that's home. That's where the church is. But we're out here. When you look at it, something is happening somewhere just to mess up the body of Christ. And the enemy is fighting out just to mess us up.
And yeah, it's true. It's true that the devil has always been scheming against us, and he wants to take advantage of any situation. And I'm so sure he's really trying to take advantage of this situation. But my comfort is that Christ is building his church, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail. Now, this is the thing that I would want to suggest, that it may be difficult to prove that this spike is because of churches gathering and because people congregated in some place. But the way social media and mass media has posted itself, it's posted itself to look for every opportunity to, smear the church. I mean, there's a time when, news houses here in Kenya would always have this on Sunday evening would always have this, item about pastors fighting, congregants fighting, just to smear the church. And so my only caution is that, yes, we are being targeted, but because we are being targeted, my favorite saying is that when the hunters learned how to shoot without missing, the birds had to learn to fly without perching. And so we need to find a way of going about this thing and not give them a reason, because they will be looking. I can guarantee you the next 3 weeks, some media people will be looking, to get opportunity to smear the church and put a bad name. So my hope is that we will not give them that opportunity. It's a difficult space, but we need to just trust God. Yes, we need to fight back. I don't know how we'll fight back. The devil is hunting us down, but anyway, our weapons are not carnal, but we will prevail.
The Bible says that when the enemy comes in like a flood, and of course, when the devil has pushed you into a corner, the only way to come out is to come out fighting. Anyway, let me appreciate Rosie Shiwani, who's watching. Tendai Zuza is watching. Robert Mukundi, Frank, who is watching. Nina Wambua, who is watching. Mercy Joseph says, that's a big point, Pastor Ken. Mentorship is key. Frank says, very true, Pastor Ken. Guitar Francis is watching. Mutuku Santa Liz, God bless you. Malkia Betty is watching. Kenneth Oyola is watching. Letitia Sauke says, I agree to that. Capacity is of key as a differentiator in implementing the government's directives. I think that's what he's trying to say. Samuel Mufoko Nawali is watching. Joyce Mali Kadak. Sauki says, yet again, I agree. Capacity to handle the congregation is a differentiator in implementing the government directive. Thank you, Elizabeth Kinyua, Philip Masinde, Tony Owata, Ezon Arunga, Stephen Gunyi, Maria Ongeche, Smith Omuhani, Cornelius, George Motoro, Jomba Tuma, Gogi Kibara, Esther Okoko is watching, and Letitia has a lot to say. Thank you for the voice of reason, Reverend Chogo. God is sovereign in every decree. Let the Holy Spirit be a space setter in this whole issue. God is using the young generation currently for the advancement of his kingdom. We can't afford to shut them out. It's crucial for them to be on board. And then we have Simon Aluenya, Annie Wanyeki, Happy Ulrika Andreasson, all the way in Sweden, is watching. Ian Kibe Madzugic is watching. Adash Elsie, Happy says, we don't understand why they give limits, time in religion places, yet in marketplace and restaurant are free up to saa tatu. And so Narunga says a lot of sense in Richie's analogy. Makena Kimathi is watching, Zipora Muya is watching, and then we've got Frank Shiru, Michael Gutu, Lydia Wangoi, Harrison Mugai Karaoke, Difna Moli watching. Guys, welcome. Keep the comments coming in. We are loving it and having a great time. Michael, I come back to you, man. You're scratching your head and you're thinking, man, maybe I need to go for my bow and arrow. It's time to wage warfare. What's your take in this whole discussion, really? I mean, seriously.
Wow.
100.
I was just going to, I've been really listening keenly to all of you. And
yes.
I feel like I'm the newest kid on the block. But, there's formal theology and there's functional theology. Formal theology is what we state.
I told you he's a rabbi in the house.
We are listening.
Yes, no, we just are listening. Pause, check it out.
Yes.
Go on, Michael.
So, formal theology is what we state we believe. Functional theology is what we actually do.
Yeah.
I think sometimes when I look at, especially the Pentecostal church in Kenya, and I can sense the government's hesitancy is because we have formally, our formal theology will say yes. But like my brother Richard there said, our functional theology, what we will actually do, will be something very different. So I have I have quite a number of friends and family in America, and Trump really pushed to have the states open, and the states started opening, and schools opened, and so some of my friends and family members who happen to be like school teachers, they were forced to go to school because that was the rule of law. But now 3 days later, they are now all of them starting to test positive for COVID. Now, they happened to have been in family gatherings with family members for Father's Day, and COVID is such that it spreads so fast. You know what I'm saying? And, I'm speaking to my friends like now in America and those who are registered nurses, and some of them are doctors. And Houston, which is the largest medical metropolitan in the world, as in the world, Houston has the largest medical campuses. It's to where they're putting people on the floors. They're putting ICU beds are finished. Other regular beds are done. People are being put on the floors. You have to wait your turn for testing. And this is a super world country. Now, take that and just reduce it by 20% to Kenya. And the government knows for sure we don't have any of those capacities. This thing would kill us like flies. Secondly, they are saying, yes, people with underlying issues, 58. Unajua wa Kenya, especially kama si wanaume. In fact, some of us, unatembeanga na uchungu for 20 years. Ndio unaenda hosi finally. Wanakuambia ulivunjanga mfupa 10 years ago. Lakini kwa wewe ni mwanaume, umejikaza tu kina. I can assure you, more Kenyans suffer from high blood pressure than they know. And they will only discover it the day they get COVID. So guys can be saying, me, I don't have any underlying issues. You don't know that you don't have an underlying issue, especially here in Kenya. Hey,
you don't know.
You don't know. Zile mtura umekwanga ukikula for the last 4 months. Those are underlying issues.
With government, governance system is an underlying issue. The medical system is an underlying issue.
Yes. So all I'm saying is in Kenya, yes, let us. Romans 13 does tell us to obey all government because kings are given from God and all authority comes from Him. I don't think they're doing it to spite us, but I do think, yes, there's an agenda, and I'm not sure what that underlying agenda is. But when it comes to our young people, I feel most of them, you can, if you do a very good job, you can catch them on the social platforms. Because by the way, many of them hata wakikuja kanisani, wachungaji wetu siku hizi Kenya bwana, the 59 ways to become the next CEO, the 14 ways for your next breakthrough, the 13 ways to plant a seed for your need. Unajua bwana, hii injili haisaidii. So hata huyo kijana, it's not gonna stop his testosterone levels. When he's looking at the lips and the hips, it's not gonna stop his testosterone levels. So that is my tip.
Wow.
Hey, you agree or disagree?
But the question I have then is...
yes, go ahead, Gita, before Ken comes in.
Just quickly, so you guys are leading churches. How many of you are now preparing to have only 100 people on a Sunday?
Good question. Good question.
Now
Ken will
I can
answer us. He's part of our church.
I can come in Gitao. because I'm hearing these conversations, and it is unfortunate that we are behaving right now in a very lackadaisical manner, whereby we've lost a lot of enthusiasm in whatever we've been called to do.
Let's take a break. Let's take a break to go and find out what is lackadaisical.
Richie, are your jugos ready?
Mpaka nikatoa koti.
Ken, yule jamaa anakujaga KTN na mambo za kizungu. Yule jamaa ni relative wako ama ni nini?
Ni student.
All I'm trying to say, Reverend Matthew,
Yes.
in another way,
Yes.
I wouldn't want us to be lackadaisious in whatever is going on at the moment. All I mean is that we don't need to lose a lot of enthusiasm in the things that God, has allowed us to do as men and women of God. Number two,
Yes.
please look at the composition of that particular committee that was actually issuing, this stringent measures. Almost 90% of them are retired. Almost 90% of them are retired. That is number two. Number three, they are realizing, by the way, if we are this old, if we allow other old people that we know, these guys might actually also contract this disease. So we'd rather protect them. So all those that are 58 and above should not be scared. They are being protected by this particular laws that are being put in place. Number three, the committee is trying to tell them, mentor people. Don't have your church by yourself. Get some young people in place. Train them. Let that work not die with you. If I guarantee you, as my bishop always says, today if you die in our churches, churches, that church will still be opened on Sunday. And there will be another pastor in that place that Sunday. So I don't know why we are scared about this thing. In fact, for me, if I was 58 and above, and I've got 19 years to go, but if I was 58 and above, this is the time I would be fronting the people that I have mentored. And I'll be, telling the churches, I have young people that even if I can take leave for the next 6 months, the church will still continue. Unfortunately, a majority of our fathers do not have people they have mentored. If they are told not to come to church, they will remain online because they have nobody else to lead their 100 people in church. And that is very, very unfortunate. Now, something else here. We have been praying and the Lord has been hearing us. We've been praying for the churches to be opened. Finally, the churches have been opened. But have we ever prepared ourselves for reopening? How can we be able to reassure our members that even there are 100 of you, if they come, they will not be infected? If you just take a survey in most of the churches, there's nothing much they have done. They're just waiting for the churches to be open. But there are no measures that have been taking place. It becomes a challenge. I have had my good friend David Dewaga that I've known for years, and his passion for young people. But what have we done to be able to channel the energy of the young people if it's social media they are used to? Do we have anything that the church has come up with that the young people, instead of going for pornography, they'd rather go for the things that we've come up with? But if we continue with the tukutendereza moments, these young people will not go with the tukutendereza moments. These young people are waiting for something that the church can be able to come up with for them to be able to follow. But if we've not put all those things in place, to be very sincere, let us not blame the devil and say the devil is doing something. I know he's prowling around looking for someone to devour, but we've been praying. We should not be afraid of this devil. We've been praying. If it is something that God will not permit, it will stop. But for now, let us just do what the government is telling us to do. And I'm sure there are many churches that will not open, even with 100, because we are saying 100 is very few people. But the people whose churches can only accommodate 200 people are rejoicing because they have almost every one of their members who will come in because 100 has been given to them. But are they prepared? I'm saying this like I said last time. Our abolition blocks have not been sorted out. People will still be going to some pit latrines. They have not been sorted out, to be very sincere. And we have 3 months to sort out ourselves. We are not even prepared if just in case the volunteers refuse to come. What will you do? Right now, we want it to be open. Have we been communicating to our people and sensitizing them that just in case the churches are open, this is how we have planned ourselves? I've not heard any church in the social, in the TV or in the news saying, this is Deliverance Church. This is how we have prepared ourselves. We have put A, B, C, D in place. Now you can go back and petition the committee and tell them we need 1,000 people. But churches have not done that. We just want it to open. Yes, it is open. Now it has been open. We've been given 100 people. We are still complaining about 100 people. We want 500. We want 1,000. Are you ready to handle?
But Ken, how do you prepare? How do you prepare to start? You're saying to be ready to prepare people. So first of all, as a church, as a pastor, you've had 3 months where your income has gone down. You have had a church where you don't know where your members have gone to. So I think I'm trying to be sympathetic to a local pastor because I until I became a local pastor, that's when I understood.
let me tell you,
local pastoring. I think if there's any job that is difficult, is the job of a local pastor. You have to provide solutions for everybody, including your own home.
Yes.
And people expect you to smile and walk every day. I've got maximum, because Richard used to be my local pastor when I was in Westlands. And now I appreciate him now. He used to pray, oh God, oh, it'd be the prayer meeting. And for 2 hours, Richard would just be saying, oh God.
I know. If I may, if I may just answer you.
People, these pastors, these past 3 months, they've lost income.
Yes.
They probably potentially have lost members.
Yes.
So, how do you position them from thinking about what they've lost to now saying, cater for only 100 people ready. Only?
All right. Let me just answer you in a few minutes. Number one, if we talk about finances, it is unfortunate that churches have only been depending on tithes and offerings and not doing any other thing to bring in finances.
But that's what churches do. That's what we depend on. We depend on tithes and offerings.
Gitao, I am not even done. You look at the Anglican church.
I am just surprised you're telling me to stop telling people to be faithful in giving.
No. That is not what I'm saying. You're actually not getting it right. What I am simply trying to say is this, and I need you to listen to me very carefully. Yeah. If you go to the Presbyterian churches, where they've been depending on tithes and offerings, they have hotels that can bring in money. They have schools that can bring in money. If you look at the Catholic Church, they have a working structure. They have built schools. They have hotels that bring in money. Even right now, even if you put them aside for a while, there is money they've been saving. For some Pentecostals, every amount of money that comes in, there is nothing we can show we have done. We've been eating that money all along. What have we been doing all along? Wait a minute, David. Let me finish. Reverend Mathew, you need to protect me here. You need to protect me here.
Listen, you start the fire, be ready for the heat. You start the fire, be ready for the heat.
I have some water here. What I'm simply trying to say is this. Just listen to me for a few minutes. Just for a few minutes, so that we put everything clear and in order. How many of our pastors here who are in this Zoom meeting have ever taken the initiative to call their members to find out how they're doing? How many? Just by a show of hands. How many? We want them back. You can see, I can only see Awagata here. We want, and Mathew, we want them back, but we've not been reaching out to them.
All of our hands are up. All of us have put our hands up.
All the hands are up.
Unless you don't have a genuine apple. Is that a genuine apple?
Yes, I can see.
You have now?
This is an iPad Air 6th generation. Yeah.
All right.
All I'm trying to say is this in a nutshell.
Hair.
Not hair, air. This is what I'm trying to say in a nutshell.
Wrap it up, Ken.
Yeah, just listen to me in a nutshell.
Yes,
this is what I'm simply trying to say.
Yes.
Those 3 months were an opportunity for us as clergy, ministers of God, and people of the cloth to come up with means and ways of reaching out to our members, all of them. If we say we have 4,000 members, we should have been able to reach out to them, whether it is text messages, whether it is a manner of which we can be able to call them and just find out how they are doing. If we are to reopen, we should have now been telling them, this is how we'll reopen. We will have these different locations. These are the plans we put in place and what have you. So that by the time we are reopening, we can now be able to send them in those locations because they are already prepared. But lastly, finances. We should now start investing and realize as much as we are depending on tithes and offerings, let's make use of them by becoming good stewards. If you've been given some money, go and do something with it. Don't just eat everything and build yourselves big houses. Just go do something with it so that when the rainy day comes, on the evil day comes, you can still be able to go back and get some money and continue to run the church. That is what I'm simply saying in a nutshell. Thank you, my brothers and sisters.
Okay.
I think Ken, the day you will find somewhere where you'll be identified as a local pastor, I will come and see you after 5 years and see how.
Gitao have been a local pastor in Mombasa, and it grew from 15 people to 700 people. We had only an income of 200,000. Within 1 year, I had 4.2 million. So I've been a local pastor. I know what I'm talking about.
All right then. Point of order from David.
There are a few local pastors that are very fortunate. You count yourself amongst the very few fortunate ones. First of all. 2, that is the ideal situation. I think you're looking at the ideal. Many of our pastors live from hand to mouth. Then you have that category of those, the mega churches where they have, these guys already are coming from a business background. I remember a church started and they were doing church plants, and the strategy for the church plant was that you go and you're given capital to go and plant the church, but also start a business. This was a strategy that had been thought out, and they had discussed it, and they had, trained these guys for a couple of months, and they sent these guys out. All those church plants collapsed. The ones that didn't collapse, these pastors went under duress because not everyone is wired as an investor. Not everyone is wired as a businessman. I have a senior pastor who is an amazing businessman. I look at the stuff he talks about in his business conversations, and I'm like, guys, I think I'm handicapped. I think I'm crippled in one side of my life. I don't understand that kind of a life. So he's wired that way. There are guys who are able to harness that idea. And that the Catholic Church, you can't even talk about the Catholic Church. That's a country. It's a state. And so they operate like the government. We are a government. We are a government. You can't even grab Catholic land. You can grab government land. You can't grab Catholic land. That is how powerful that government is. All right?
And a lot of their land, David, was given by governments. So Pentecostals have to buy land. Most Pentecostals do not have the luxury of some of the established churches where they are given land.
Mm-hmm. And then on top of that,
what did they do to be given land? Why can't we imitate them and do the same to get land also?
Become a country. That's the quickest way to become
But if I can just real quick. Now, the Catholic Church has been here for 2,000 years. So by trial and error, those people have perfected the art. The Pentecostal church, the Africa Pentecostal church is what, 100 years old, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, the Baptists have been here since 1650, the Reformation. So those guys have really come through a lot of mess. I would have wanted to see them in their first 100 years. But having said that, I completely agree with Kenneth that this is the opportune time for Pentecostals to start thinking through and for us to become organized, to put in organizations, to put in vision. Historia maze, unajua msandi anakuja tu ati Mungu ameniambia, and then next week Mungu ameniambia kingine, and then the week after that Mungu amesema, ai, Buddha, kwani Mungu akwenda monitor amwambia anyamaze, ameanga too much, you know. You know, but that's the problem with us.
Yeah.
And education is a very integral part of it if we have to cross over. Organization is very integral. Our fathers are very important. In fact, but then also let us think about the right of the congregant. Yes, the churches have opened, but you know, the congregant also has his right. Anaweza mwakuji na alafu
Utadu.
22 na bado 88 seats.
You know, I believe.
Okay, guys, just before you go on, let me appreciate a couple of people that are tuning in just to be able to celebrate them. Dan Mutugo III, Millicent Mwangi, Ayub Cairo, Paul Njeri Wahome, Roske Murimi, Lucy Ngendo, Monique How, Lorna, God bless you. Happy is saying, what? We need to have a dictionary Karibu. Pastor Ken, happy. Evening Wamasindano, too bad. Mentorship is paramount. Marco Calvin is watching you guys. And then, of course, happy says, yes, Pastor Ken, I agree with you. Wow, he kweli mingi yawa. That's Evelyn Wamasindano. I've got Anne Mainga watching. Fales Mugivane watching. Evelyn Wamasindano. I love this so. And then there's a Susan right there watching. Lera Mweni Munyoki watching, Daniel Tay, Oscar Amisi, Evelyn Wamasindano, my pastor does it. Happy. Kudos, men of God. You have made our night. Helen Mune is watching, Kiambo Jefferson watching, James Monge watching, Liliana Runga watching. Very true, Ken. I love your genuineness. Alice Winnie Rabuku is watching. Lois Kembo is watching. Peter Chero is watching. And then Happy says, whoever invested with schools, schools are not working because of Corona. Yes, Jacob. Your mic is muted.
Yeah, what I was going to say, thank you.
Yes.
Schools are not working because of Corona. I know. I can say this, that I believe with all of my heart that this is it's a learning curve, and I'm enjoying all of us. You know, when you look at it, Matthew, I will not blame anybody after this COVID-19 if I fail. You know why?
Yeah.
Because despite the negativity bit of it, somebody told me something today. I think it was Ken we were talking with. This COVID-19 also has a lot of positivity. If I thought that I'm unlimited, so it shows me right now that there's a limit that I can reach to. I am not all in all. And if there's a way that I was going, this thing is showing me, hey, wake up and change. So even with what we are discussing right now, we can see that, like what you were saying, and I love, and I respect that. I know that we've been eating out of the coffers, of course, that's what we are called for. So a Levite shall eat of from the house. Pastor Show is
Put it another way, bro. We've been eating out of the coffers.
My father, I hope he's not watching. My father used to tell me this. My father Bishop, Alemio Dima, usibebe checkbook ya kanisa. Checkbook si yako ya kanisa. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
We're used to, because it comes in, and I am the first to partake of the first fruits.
Yes.
I got to that mchungaji lazima akule, and so I eat it all without thinking of tomorrow. I felt when I was watching the other day in our country about this pastor that was neglected by the congregants until he sold the equipments. And he said that he was calling the saints. And I watched it and I cried, and he sold everything else. And now we can see the desperation. I believe the Lord is telling us something. And I can hear when Paul, we talk about some of the institutions that have been there. And I believe that we, even as Pentecostals, God has given us a beautiful thing. The thing is, it's a matter of me restructuring myself, picking myself that God, when you give me another second chance, which I know He has already given me and given us, how do I make this thing that God has given to me to the next level? A foundation that cannot be, and we come to the words of Jesus, when He says, a wise man that builds his house on a rock, that the floods came. These are the floods. The wind came. The waters came. Corona is here now, COVID-19. Another thing is coming again, 2020. It will be named another thing, or 2023 or 2024. So, my prayer is, our eyes have opened up. In fact, this thing has opened up my eyes so much. Today I had one of my good pastor, one of my senior pastors from Canada, was telling me A, B, and C. Was telling me, about salary and the rest of it. I've never been on it. I've never, but I thank God for the grace. And I don't think I will want to get into it, because God has been so faithful, and I thank God for this far. And as we move to the next level, just to allow Him to do what He wants to do. But it's a good learning camp. And even the thing we're talking about, the numbers, I know what you're talking about, and I appreciate it. But it's a matter of us now seeing to it that from here, what is next?
Okay, but let's get down to wrapping this up. And I want to appreciate one Joyce Smiley Kadak saying, kudos, Pastor Ken. You're saying it the way it is. Churches should invest to get extra income as well as give back to the society. And one Kelvin Manyoike is watching us. Pastor Julius Ndivo, I come back to you, and we are wrapping it up, guys, because of time. Time is gone. I want to know, what is your take in this? Because, of course, a lot has been going on here. We're talking about, of course, pastors depending on the ink, on the coffers. Like one Odima used the word, and it's like one can say we should have invested and all kinds of things. But in your own thinking, as you look at the situation right now, yes, we've been allowed, we've been invited. Open up. Ken was challenging us. Are we ready for that opening up? And I think for me, what we need to be actually asking ourselves is this, because there are pastors watching us from out there, there are believers watching us from out there. How are we going to be able to weather the transition between we are coming out of like a lockdown necessarily because we are not meeting in church, into a place where we begin to fellowship as we move out? Because there are all kinds of conversations that we can have, but we must seemingly be able to have a plan in place and help people watching us to begin to think and kind of just direct them in a certain way. This is what seems to really is going to work as we reopen churches and as we get back to operating again from a physical location.
Well, thank you. And I've just been listening, following, and I think a lot of insight has been flying around. Some needing glasses of water to cool down, but I think it's all been very good insights that have been flowing around.
It's a coffee bar, bro. We are fine here.
I would throw in about 3 comments here. I think one, I totally agree with the man of God, Ken, that we definitely I've learned lessons here, and we need to think a lot about investing and alternative incomes as a church. I totally agree with that. However, I want to say that I think this is something we need to go into very carefully, very cautiously. It's very easy for us to swing to the other side of the pendulum and find ourselves in situations where, because now the push is for us to have alternative sources of income, we get into areas of investments where we have zero understanding of, And because we are not business people, some of our churches don't have people who, have capacity to run certain, business ventures like those. And we find ourselves now losing trust. That church gains another terrible name, that if you want to lose your money, then invest in anything that has a name church in it. And so in as much as the Catholic Church, that some of the mainline churches have been pretty stable in some of the investments that they have made, I think it's good to carefully look into their history, how they got there, some of the mistakes they made, and some of the things that painful lessons they learned before they got into some of the ability and good name that they enjoy. So I think we have to go into that very, very cautiously. I don't think it's something we need to jump into very quickly. I think it needs a lot of guidance from God, because if you go doing business and God hasn't called you to do those kinds of businesses, again, you're just setting yourselves up for failure. And remember, we operate a lot on goodwill. And if you don't have that goodwill from members, if a member feels I lost my 100,000 because I invested in a transport company by the church, they will not hear your preaching as
Deliverance Church pastors here are hearing you.
Yeah. So, they will be casting you as you cast the demons out of them. So, I just wanted to throw that out. And that's not to say that I don't agree with that principle. I totally agree with it. And I think that's just some caution I'm throwing in there. I think the other quick reaction I want to make here is that people are still alive. They may not be allowed to come to church, the 58-year-olds and above. I think one thing we need to celebrate is they are still alive. And so we have to, to push to see, can they be allowed in? And also, let's not mourn too much about it. I think, those guys are still alive. The children are still alive. We still have them in our homes. God could give us ideas on things to do with them in that space. And I think all hope is not lost. Even if it stays like that for another year, I think there's still hope. The fact that those people are alive and we can still reach them. Second last, very quick one is the story is not very good in church. I mean, in the nation. We saw by the 16th week, which was last week, the graph was at its worst. Recovery rate was lowest ever, and the infection rate highest ever since they started tracking this journey 16 weeks ago. And so my hope and prayer is that the week that church goes on session, even if it's those 100 people, we can go there, call on our God, do what we do, shine our light and spread our flavor as the church, and let the nation see when the church came around, there are definitely miraculous stories that have been written in this country. And trust God to have things that can only be attributed to the comeback of a church in operation, so that the nation will be saying, this is against logic, but I think the missing ingredient here in this whole mix has actually been the church, so that what will come and what will ensue will make the government want to actually say, let's not even have a limit of numbers as far as the church is concerned. And I hope that that can be part of what happens with the church. I know our time is out, but I'll throw this last one out here. I think let's also, let's not assume, I think this has been said, let's not assume that our people are as excited as we are as a church, as pastors to come back.
That's true.
And so I think we also need to know, part of a preparation that we need to do is to also share, and I think somebody may have mentioned that, to share the strategies we have in place. What are we doing to ensure our people are safe? Just rebuild confidence again, so that the fear, the hopelessness, and some of these things that have been out in the society there, we can begin to diffuse that, so that our people can also be ready to come to church. So as we prepare, put sanitizers and get, things to fumigate our churches and all of that, I think there's also a fumigation process that needs to happen in the minds, in the hearts of our members, so that they can be ready to come back. So that, we don't plan for them and shock on us. We open the doors and the 100 people are not there. So as we prepare, I think this is a good time to just begin to make that preparation as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Julius. Evelyn Masindana says, yeah, be open-minded. Anne Manga says, very true, Pastor Odima. I agree with you. And then Becky Baraka just joined us. She's watching. I'll start with you, David. Parting shot as we wrap it up for the night because time is gone. What would you be your take? And I think that was really profound, Devo, coming from you. Absolutely amazing. David.
Thank you. I really want to appreciate every comment made in this conversation. I think these are very crucial discussions that we are having. My prayer is that we take the conversations into practical implementation. Let's find a place to be able to put these things in place. I know Ken has spoken passionately about these things, and we've hammered him a bit, but it's true. I think the Pentecostal Church has a golden opportunity. We have had an impact in this nation, a transformation. All of us in this place are here because of what happened in our lives as teenagers that saved us from a world of a mess. If you see Gitao here with his gray hair, you'd probably not have lived this long if it wasn't for Christ and the power of the Spirit. If you see Ken over here, he would have been arrested a long time ago. This one would have been a jail, but Jesus. And so let us take the next step. Let us formalize what happened by proximity to the power of God. And yes, we have worked on that, but let's put structure to it. Let's put system to it. Let us put ourselves in a place where we can be able to look back and say, it is working, it is stable. Fortunately, we have precedents. We have other churches that have gone before us. We have other nations that have gone before us. Let us be able to form faster than other congregations have formed. Let us be able to form faster than other churches have formed because we have a precedence to pick some leaves from and move forward. I think that enlightenment is hard on us. When you hear all the comments from the people watching, they are saying, Ken is right, Ken is right. And I'm like, they're basically saying something to us that we are not listening to. And so let's put our hearts together. Let us make a lasting impact for now and for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, David. Richard, your parting shot.
I think I will repeat what I said earlier. I don't know if it will, make sense or align with anything that others have said. But I'll take you still back to the book written by Chinua Achebe, 1958, I think so. Things Fall Apart. When Eneke the bird says, when men learned how to shoot without missing the mark, I learned how to fly without perching on a twig. Let's think seriously about that. Times that have changed.
Gitao is surprised.
I'm thinking next time we should be given a warning. Go and read first before you come to this program.
But you read
this.
Ken and Richard wanatuaibisha sana kwa hii.
You just need to learn how to fly without perching. That meant that the bird would have to fly, longer stretches without perching because it used to like to perch every now and then. But because men had become clever, it had to up its game. And so I think it's a burden that we, the church, have to take up and see what we can do. And may God give us grace to be able to know how to fly without perching. Yeah. That's my 2 cents.
No, that's 5 cents tonight. Michael, you're my man. Parting shot.
Kila mtu yuko na methali, hata mimi niko na yangu. Moi siku moja alikuwa akipatiana ujumbe akasema pilipili usioila, and then he forgot. Akasema utaikula namna gani? Hey, you know you the last part of that statement.
Okay.
Yes, the world has changed. COVID has changed the world, and the church is never going back to the same thing it used to be. I don't know how I can repeat that over and over again. There are those of us who are just waiting for it to go back to how it always was. Things have completely changed. And if the church doesn't learn to pivot, at least in the next 6 months to a year, many churches will become completely obsolete and irrelevant because the game on the ground imegeuka.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, let's come to you, Jacob. Parting shot, sir.
Parting shot. Mine will be so pretty quick. I'm just thinking out here while I'm listening to all this. I definitely know that it will never be the same. To be honest with you, you know, I heard some people saying, oh, we just want to go back to, let things go back the same way they used to be. I don't think it will be the same again. When you look at countries which are prepared or which have structures in place, though there is pain, but they can still survive. Today I was watching Pastor Mathew, our exchequer, and they were talking about the billions that they are releasing in the system, the billions that they are releasing, because the country has been prepared and they have structures. So have the money to release. The same way thing too, it needs to come to us as a church. And I know Ken really spoke about it passionately, and so many of us here, is that now going forward, we need to come to a place whereby, and maybe I don't know how this will sound, whereby I will say, I need to come to a place as a pastor to say, tithe ikiweko is ikiweko, I will still live to declare the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Because I've learned to make the tent like Paul, that I can preach this gospel without going into somebody's pocket, but being in the pocket of God and connected to God, that the Lord can open up doors for us. And so that is my departing shot. That pastors, wake up. It is not the same. Usihubiri kanisani because tithe and offering. No, that will come. What watoe, what ikuweko, but the main thing ya kwamba namtegemea Mungu, na huo Mungu ambaye namtegemea is able to do.
Yes.
Yeah, those are my words.
Wow. Okay. David just distracted me by sending me something. Anyway, Pastor Ken, I'll do this with David in a private chat. Parting shot. Let's hear you.
Thank you, Rev. I'm sincerely grateful for the wisdom from my learned friends in this place. I just like us to realize that even with this pandemic, God has put the church on the precipice of a shift. Things cannot be normal. If we were used to preaching 1.5 hours, now if you are a true man of God, you can actually narrow your sermon to 27 minutes. It is very true. I have been on this platform whereby I have been here, preached for 15 minutes in Qatar and came back on this platform and people got saved. So it's not really the longevity of your sermon. No, we just need to do things a little bit different. This is the time for the Pentecostals, you know, let me just say the Pentecostals or the Protestants, to prove themselves that they are organized and they've got structures that are working. For me, it still pains my heart that I would see the Hindus giving 100 million. I would see, I don't know, these churches giving, I don't know how many millions. But we, the Pentecostals, we gave nothing. We just gave nothing. And now we want this place to be open. Let's do something. Let the government know that the churches are doing something. That's my main thing. Let us just do things differently until the government can be able to come back to the church and say, indeed, we gave these instructions to the churches, and the churches obeyed. And now I think from next time, whenever we want to make a particular decision that affects the people of Kenya, we will have the tenacity and the audacity to go back to the church and even be able to communicate with them, because they are well organized and they've proven themselves worthy of their calling. Let's just do things differently as a church. Thank you.
All right, let me say this. One Letitia Sauke says, great man of God, I believe this conversation will culminate into a bigger picture of the church as a whole. Let's have the last parting shot from Gitao, and we're going to wrap it up for the night because our time is spent.
Thank you, Matthew. Again, I just want to applaud Ken. I know we've been having robust exchanges, but it's all done in brotherly love. And I hope you don't feel as if
no, that's a fun of having
we have anything against you. I think when you mentioned that the work you've done in a particular part of the country where you picked up a church and moved it to a different level, that's to be applauded. And my prayer is that that the challenge you're having, I know some of us we've just got reservations about mixing, and I liked what Ndivo mentioned about how to deal with sort of business world. I mean, my own view, Matthew, is if I'm really honest, and this is a discussion for another day, I become very pessimistic about disruption theorists and a lot of people who come up saying, I know we're talking of being a new normal, but the problem with changes like this is it only benefits the powerful. And that's what we've got to really watch out for. So when you talk of the disruptions within social media and all of that, it's only people like Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, who have made big amounts of money, and they can actually buy countries now. So I'm hoping that whatever change we can see coming, that it would be for the benefit of everybody, that this will not be, again, another opportunity for the powerful to become even more powerful. And I think I agree with what Richard said. We have, at the end of it all, we have to trust God, and we have to throw ourselves at His mercy and depend on His grace that as we move on forward. We may not have the best trick in town, but we surely have the God of all ages, the God who has who supported and helped Christians in times past, is the God that we can call on and depend upon. So by all means, let's try and see what is God saying, what is God challenging us to do. I'm all for that, but I think the main thing I would like to encourage us is to still look upon God, seek His face, and know that He's the one who's going to take us through. That the new normal will be, for me, the new normal should be that we have ridiculous trust and faith in our God.
Thank you very much. I'm just laughing at
No, I know. People are just going crazy. I know you guys, this time of the hour in Kenya, you guys, it's a different hour.
Oh, David was chatting right now. Anyways.
My plan.
Thank you so much. It's always fun. It's always a joy. It's always a learning curve for me to chill out with you guys and just get conversation from different angles, different giftings, different graces. God bless you so much. I think one of the realities, I think for me, I don't know how true this is, but is that really, I am not even sure that we are getting figures that are really correct figures. I think for me, there's a big possibility someone is cooking figures. There's a lot that is going down that we're not being taught. There's a lot of lying, and a lot of things that sometimes you feel, now you wonder, you tag along with this leadership that you know that there's a sinister motive. There's some of the things that they are doing. And I think that's why we have this conversation, and we need to get to the place of just being hard. We can't keep quiet for too long. From where I stand, the church cannot just be timid and just decide, okay, fine, we're going to pray for the people in leadership and keep quiet about it. I think we need to talk. I think we need to say it. I think to speak it from our pulpits, from our crusades. Let's speak. Let's tell this government, you know what? Black Lives Matter. I don't know whether to say that's Kenyan Lives Matter or whatever the case may be. Because seriously speaking, there's a lot that has been exaggerated. We know there's a lot of lies that have been peddled. There's a lot of information that has been passed on just to be able to create a certain effect. That is something we know. I don't want to go into the details. I think the conversation tonight has been absolutely amazing. And of course, a challenge towards, of course, looking beyond just tithe and offerings, but of course, being cautious in going that direction. And also, just getting ready because, yeah, we have to, the 19th, so to say, to be back again, be given an opportunity to showcase, to show ourselves. Maybe that's an opportunity for us to prove ourselves on what we're able to do as the body of Christ and try to show this government we're not idiots. We are men of God, full of God's grace and wisdom, and we can do things right. Otherwise, I want to celebrate all of you for being here tonight. It's absolutely a joy to have all of you from all corners of the world, from the UK, from the UK, of course, there's another UK, that side of Kenya, and there's a real UK there. God bless you so much. And of course, different mindsets. God bless you. I totally appreciate. Please, next Wednesday, be ready. We're going to push this conversation further and dig into small stuff as we hold each other accountable, and as we keep on just looking for solutions, not only as men of God, but people that have a responsibility over the communities that we have oversight over. Otherwise, for me here, for those of you that have been following us on YouTube, following us on Facebook and Twitter, God bless you so much. Thank you for tuning out with us. We'll see you next week, Wednesday, same place, same time. That's 8 o'clock. Otherwise, God bless you. And for me, being your host, Reverend Mathew Wambua, it is good night and God bless.